thank everybody who came out to be a part of our 50th anniversary celebration in regards to Niagara Frontier Bible Church. It was a great time. I think people were really excited and encouraged. And thank you for your message about the year of Jubilee and from Leviticus and 50 years about forgiving your debts. And we're going to bring some of that application here. How does that apply to us in the church? You know?
Well, it was interesting. This was our Jubilee year. This is our 50th year anniversary, and I just thought and said, "Duh, that matches up with what the year of Jubilee that the Israel celebrated. God commanded that we know that there's a whole teaching on Sabbath. Every seventh day was a day of rest. Every seventh year, the Israelites were to let the land rest for a whole year." And no harvesting, no planting.
And trust God.
Trusting God to provide even for the next. And then there was actually a 7 times 7 on the 49th year. It began the start where on that Sabbath that year they would begin to prepare to celebrate a year of Jubilee. And what was interesting is they went 2 years without planting anything. So they were trusting God for 3 years of crops before they would start planting the crops. So. But what it was is beautifully in the way of the economy of God, that was a way that he saw. There was a couple of things that took place. There was a return back to land. God made sure that that families and the tribes, they maintained an allocation, their inheritance. Everyone had a piece of land. The 12 tribes had different portions of the middle in the promised land that belonged to them. And in that particular tribe, whether it was Issachar or Asher or Benjamin, those clans within their families, they had their own allotments of thing, and God saw fit that property, their land was theirs forever. It was that was their property, and they really weren't. They would have passed it on to their children and their forebears. And what happens if something happened financially that they lost it or couldn't, they would get it back. It would return to them every 50th year. So there was a return back, there was a rest of the land, and also there was a release. In other words, if you even went in debt, all debts were canceled. They had a system where you couldn't, they weren't allowed to charge interest. If they loaned people to another brother or another family, they would give that. In fact, there was no interest on it. But then there was a release of debts every 7 years, and then on the 49th year. So what was beautiful, there was a redemption. They can buy back their land, and there was a redemption in the sense that they were able. There was a way that God made it so that they can get right with one another and come back, and to keep the land and their families. And also, there's an area of forgiveness that they can forgive not only the physical debt, but there's an issue of It was meant that God said would reconcile with your family members and other tribes. And so in our regards to our, this is good. After 50 years, it's good to see old people that we haven't seen. And it's a good opportunity to, if we did wrong to one another, forgive and to make things right, to release each other. So there's a beautiful significance application-wise to the year of Jubilee.
And it was good to see. It was good to see people from the past come and visit and celebrate with us. So thank you so much. And as we've tried to emphasize, it's all about God. It's not about the fact we've been here 50 years. It's about more than that. It's about what God is doing, and that's what we've tried to recount. And just another little reminder, Mrs. Larson compiled and gathered together for us a book on that, Remembering God's Faithfulness. So we still have some copies here at the church, and we have our documentary that we've been working on that if you're looking up the minute, you probably see it. But if you don't, just type in, you could type in, if you want to type it all in, it's called To God Be the Glory, the Story of the Niagara Frontier Bible Church. But again, if you're seeing this, you're probably seeing that video too. So thanks again. And we've got a lot going on here. We're excited about what's going on. We're remodeling, so we're by our new fireplace and our new living room lounge.
We call kind of the fireside room here.
Fireside room, right. So this is going to be a place to just connect people and just to make them feel more welcome as they come in. So please do join us, and if you haven't seen this yet, come check it out. So in addition to messages, why don't you give us a little preview of the message and talk about the pumpkin praise we're doing Sunday evening?
This Sunday, we're coming up next week is Thanksgiving. We're doing that. So what we do, what we have been doing here for a number of years, but the Sunday before, in the evening, everyone brings some nice desserts and fun finger foods. But we have what we call pumpkin praise. And we get together and we just take a time of praising and thanking God for His faithfulness. We're talking about what He did for us.
Pie.
We have pie.
Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, and what we do is we actually have little
more.
pumpkins that we hang up, like and everyone comes up and gives a testimony of thanks or praise to what God has did, what they're thankful for.
Right.
And it's a nice family time. And then we're going to conclude that night. We're going to be watching a video on Thanksgiving, the original. It's actually an excerpt from an episode of a show that's done by David Barton, a great Christian historian, and it's on it's from his program called America's Hidden History, about all the hidden things we're not teaching our kids and not being taught. And it's going to talk about the original Pilgrims in Plymouth Rock, that plantation, the Plymouth Compact. And it'll be amazing. You'll learn so much about our heritage, the Christian faith that was started, where capitalism began, free trade, free enterprise, individual ownership of land. It all began with the Pilgrims from a biblical.
And it talks about how they tried socialism.
They tried socialism. Wow. It didn't work. Some of the early settlements had failed. And so it'll be very enlightening and educational.
So that all kicks off Sunday night at 6, and of course that during our Sunday morning service, you're always welcome. What's the preview for our message?
We're in chapter 9 already of Hebrews, and it's really we're getting down with Christ. We're talking about Christ, our great high priest, and now the writer is comparing the old tabernacle to the heavenly tabernacle. How the old tabernacle in the Old Testament was a shadow and just a pattern of the heavenly. But it's then kind of showing how Christ inaugurated this new tabernacle with His own blood. Once for all, He went into this heavenly tabernacle to offer His blood and to present it as a once-for-all sacrifice for sins that will help us clear our conscience from sin and guilt and shame, and how Jesus Christ is that once-for-all perfect sacrifice for us. So it's going to be an interesting passage.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it now, and there's some powerful things. I mean, look at verse 11. But when Christ appeared as a high priest of the good things that have come, then through the greater and more perfect tent, not made with hands, that is not of this creation, He entered once for all into the holy places, not by means of the blood of goats and calves, but by means of His own blood, thus securing an eternal redemption.
Amen.
And Hebrews talks about so much about how Christ secured our redemption.
So we'll be looking at 5 reasons why the old sanctuary, the tabernacle, was inferior, and then we'll look at 5 reasons why the new sanctuary is superior in heaven. And we'll be talking about that, and it'll be a good study.
Good. Well, hey, come check that out. I hear the music, so I guess that's our cue. But we do hope to see you Sunday. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time. All right. 8 minutes. Not bad.